The warning. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Empire stretched for half a kilometer. Its walls were made of pure crystal that reflected the light of 1,000 stars. Representatives from 200 species sat in their designated sections, discussing the Empire's next conquest. Commander Zixtar sat in the back row, his forearms crossed over his scarred chest. He was old now, nearly 300 years. His gray skin showed the marks of 47 wars. Other soldiers respected him. Politicians ignored him. At the front of the chamber, Admiral Vorn stood before a holographic display. The display showed a blue and green planet orbiting a yellow star. "Gentlemen, this is Earth," Vorn announced proudly. "Our next target. Intelligence reports indicate a primitive civilization. They have basic space travel, but no faster-than-light capability. Their weapons are crude. Their nations are divided and constantly fighting each other." The council members murmured with approval. This sounded like an easy conquest. "The humans have approximately 8 billion population," Vorn continued, "but they lack unity. Some nations can barely feed their people. They waste resources on internal conflicts. This will be our simplest campaign in decades." Councillor Thexra, a wealthy merchant, raised his tentacle. "What resources does this planet offer?" "Abundant water, rare minerals, and a perfect location for a military outpost," Vorn replied. "The humans will make adequate workers once we establish control. The invasion fleet of 5,000 ships is already prepared." Applause filled the chamber. Another planet, another victory, another profit. Then Zixtar stood up. The sound of his chair scraping against the floor echoed through the massive chamber. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. The legendary commander rarely spoke in council meetings. "Do not go to Earth," Zixtar said. His voice was quiet, but it carried weight. Admiral Vorn frowned. "Commander, your objection is noted, but do not go to Earth," Zixtar repeated, louder this time. His four hands gripped the railing in front of him. "I am not making a suggestion. I am giving you a warning." The council chamber fell completely silent. Zixtar never raised his voice, never showed emotion. Something was wrong. Councillor Thexra spoke carefully. "Commander, you have seen the intelligence reports. This is a primitive species. Why do you object?" Zixtar's eyes went distant, remembering. "Because I have been to Earth. 50 years ago, my people, the Krell, made first contact with humans." Admiral Vorn pulled up records on his datapad. "There is no record of Krell contact with Earth in our databases." "That is because the Krell government erased all records," Zixtar said quietly. "They were too ashamed to document what happened." The council leaned forward, interested now. Zixtar rarely spoke about his past. "I was a young officer then," Zixtar began. "My battalion was sent to establish what we called diplomatic relations with Earth. But our real mission was dominance. We wanted to show humans their place in the galactic order, to make them understand that we were superior." He paused, and his hands trembled slightly. "Even after 50 years, the memory hurt. We landed in a region called North America. We met human diplomats. They seemed friendly, curious, excited to meet alien life. We thought they were naive, weak, easy to control." "What happened?" asked a young council member. Zixtar's voice became hollow. "We made a demonstration. We destroyed one of their military bases to show our power. We thought it would make them submit immediately. Instead, it made them angry." He walked slowly down the steps toward the central display, his old legs stiff from ancient injuries. The humans changed overnight. The friendly diplomats vanished. In their place came something else, something we had never encountered before. Zixtar reached the holographic display of Earth and touched it with one finger. The planet rotated slowly under his hand. They called them soldiers. But they were not like our soldiers. Our warriors follow rules of combat. We have honor codes. We fight in formations. We use accepted tactics. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. Humans have no such rules. Admiral Vorn laughed nervously. "Commander, with respect, you are describing a species with inferior technology. How could they possibly? They attacked us at night," Zixtar interrupted. "From the shadows. From underground tunnels we did not know existed. They used weapons we considered primitive, explosives, projectiles, fire. But they used them in ways we never imagined." He turned to face the council, and many members drew back from the look in his eyes. We had energy shields that could stop their bullets. So they stopped using bullets. They used blades. They used their bare hands. They used traps that our sensors could not detect because they were too simple. Buried explosives triggered by pressure. Hidden pits filled with sharpened wood. Surely your battalion's advanced training, Thexra began. We lost 800 soldiers in the first day, Zixtar said flatly. 1,200 the second day. By the third day we were running, not retreating tactically, running in terror. The council chamber was dead silent now. I commanded 3,000 soldiers when we landed on Earth, Zixtar continued. I returned with 47. The humans hunted us like animals. They showed no mercy. They took no prisoners. They simply eliminated us. His four hands clenched into fists. And the worst part, we had only fought one nation, one small military force from one human country. There are nearly 200 nations on Earth. If they ever unified against a common enemy. He let the sentence hang in the air. Admiral Vorn shifted uncomfortably. Commander, that was 50 years ago. Surely your memory is... My memory is perfect, Zixtar snapped. I remember every soldier who died screaming. I remember the human faces, calm, focused, efficient. They killed us the way farmers harvest crops. No emotion, no hesitation. Just execution. He pointed at the holographic Earth. Humans have been fighting wars for 10,000 years. They have fought each other in every environment, land, sea, air, space. They have perfected killing into an art form. Every human child studies war in their schools. Every human knows how to fight. Counselor Thexra spoke up, trying to sound reasonable. Commander, you suffered a traumatic experience. But we are not the Krell. Our fleet is much larger. Our technology has advanced. Surely, technology means nothing, Zixtar said tiredly. The humans will take your technology. They will study it. They will reverse engineer it. And then they will use it against you in ways you never thought possible. He looked around the chamber at the comfortable politicians and confident military officers. None of them had seen real war, not the kind humans practiced. I am begging you, Zixtar said, and his voice cracked slightly. Do not go to Earth, leave them alone. Pretend that planet does not exist, because if you attack them, they will not stop until they have eliminated every threat, and they will consider this entire empire a threat. For a moment, the council hesitated. Zixtar's reputation was legendary. His warnings had saved the empire before. But then Admiral Vorn spoke, his voice filled with confidence and arrogance. With all respect to Commander Zixtar's service, his experience was decades ago with inferior forces. We are the Galactic Empire. We have conquered 200 worlds. We will not be frightened by ghost stories about primitive humans, the council murmured in agreement. They wanted to believe Vorn. They wanted to believe conquest would be easy, all in favor of the Earth invasion. Vorn called out, hands, tentacles, and appendages raised throughout the chamber. The vote was nearly unanimous. Zixtar watched in silence, his face expressionless. He had tried. He had warned them. They did not listen. As the council celebrated and discussed invasion plans, Zixtar walked slowly toward the exit. At the door he stopped and looked back one last time at the holographic Earth spinning peacefully in the display. You have killed us all, he whispered to the empty air. Then he left the chamber to prepare for a war he knew they could not win. Behind him 5,000 ships prepared to launch toward Earth. And on that distant blue planet, 8 billion humans continued their daily lives, unaware that someone was about to make the biggest mistake in galactic history. The warning had been given. The warning had been ignored. Now the galaxy would learn why old soldiers feared Earth. First contact. The Imperial fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 5,000 warships, each the size of a city, hung in the darkness of space like metal stars. It was the largest invasion force the Empire had assembled in 50 years. Admiral Vorn stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion. Around him, officers worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. Holographic displays showed Earth growing larger as they approached. Magnificent, Vorn said, admiring the blue planet. Soon it will bear the Empire's flag. His second officer, Captain Relth, checked the tactical display. Admiral, our scans show approximately 12,000 primitive satellites orbiting the planet. Their technology is at least 200 years behind ours. Vaughn smiled. As expected, prepare the standard surrender broadcast. Let us give these humans a chance to submit peacefully. The communications officer activated the system. The message was transmitted in all human languages, translated by the Empire's advanced computers. Attention, people of Earth. This is Admiral Vaughn of the Galactic Empire. Your planet has been selected for integration into our empire. You have 48 hours to surrender unconditionally. Dismantle your military forces. Prepare to receive our occupation forces. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your civilization. This is your only warning. The bridge crew waited for the response. They expected panic, fear, desperate pleas for mercy. What they received was a simple text message. 5 words in plain English: we decline. Leave immediately. The bridge fell silent. Officers looked at each other in confusion. Vaughn laughed. They decline? They actually said no. He laughed harder. These primitives have no idea who they are dealing with. Communications, send another message. Tell them we will demonstrate our power. Target, sir? Asked the weapons officer. Vaughn studied the display. There. That small moon base on the far side of their natural satellite. Destroy it. Show them what happens when they refuse the Empire. The weapons officer hesitated. Sir, there are life signs at that base. Approximately 200 humans. Then they should have surrendered, Vaughn said coldly. Fire. Energy beams lanced out from 3 Empire warships. The human moon base, a small research station, exploded in a flash of light. 200 scientists died instantly. Vaughn waited for the panic, for the desperate calls begging for mercy. Instead, he received another text message. You have committed an act of war. Final warning. Leave our system now. Vaughn's smile faded. These humans are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. No matter. Prepare landing forces. We will occupy their major cities. Once they see our soldiers on their streets, they will understand. Captain Relth checked the planetary data. Sir, I recommend we land in multiple locations simultaneously. Overwhelming force at key strategic points. Excellent thinking, Vaughn agreed. Select 10 landing sites. Deploy 1,000 troops at each location. That should be more than sufficient. In the war room deep inside the flagship, commanders studied Earth's geography. They selected targets carefully. Major cities, military bases, government centers, places where human resistance would be strongest. One commander pointed to a large empty region on the continent called Australia. This area appears to have minimal population, small towns, low military presence. I recommend this as a primary landing site. Easy to secure, low casualties. Approved, Vaughn said. Deploy the 10th Battalion there. 10,000 troops should be enough to control the entire region. What the Empire's scanners did not detect was the network of underground bunkers humans had built across Australia. What their intelligence did not know was that Australia's military had trained for guerrilla warfare for over a century. What they failed to understand was that the minimal population included some of the toughest humans on the planet. The landing ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, their shields glowing with friction heat. They landed in a small town called Kuba Pedy in the heart of the Australian outback. 10,000 Empire soldiers emerged from their ships, weapons ready, expecting resistance. The town was empty. Commander Jackson, leading the ground forces, surveyed the area cautiously. Where are they? He asked his officers. Our scans showed 500 humans in this settlement. Perhaps they evacuated when they saw us coming, suggested his lieutenant. Jackson ordered his troops to spread out and secure the town. Soldiers moved through empty streets. They entered abandoned homes. They found food still warm on tables, vehicles still running, doors left open. This is wrong, Jackson muttered. They left too quickly, too organized. He was right to be worried. The humans had not fled in panic. They had evacuated according to a plan they had practiced dozens of times. And now, from hidden positions in the surrounding hills, underground bunkers and concealed trenches, they watched the alien soldiers spread out across their town. Major Sarah Collins of the Australian Defence Force lay in a hidden position 200 meters from the town centre. Through her scope, she watched the alien soldiers moving in predictable patterns. They bunched together. They talked loudly. They assumed they were safe. All units, this is Collins, she whispered into her radio. Hold fire until they reach the marked positions. Remember your training, fast and invisible." The Empire soldiers continued their search. They were confident. Their armor could withstand small arms fire. Their shields could deflect energy weapons. They had faced resistance on dozens of worlds and always won, but they had never faced humans. When Commander Jackson reached the town square, the attack began. It did not start with a grand battle cry or a dramatic charge. It started with silence broken by sudden violence. Explosives buried beneath the streets detonated. Not advanced energy weapons, simple dynamite and fertilizer bombs, crude by galactic standards. Devastating in practice, the ground erupted beneath 50 Empire soldiers. Their shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, did nothing against concussive force and flying debris. Bodies flew through the air. Before the survivors could react, gunfire erupted from every direction. Not energy weapons that the Empire's scanners could track. Ballistic rifles firing metal projectiles. Simple technology. Impossible to predict. Empire soldiers fell, their shields flickering uselessly. The shields were designed to stop laser fire, not physical bullets. "Return fire," Jackson screamed. "Find the targets." But there were no targets to find. The humans fired from hidden positions and immediately moved. They used the terrain. They struck from buildings, then vanished underground through tunnels the Empire's scanners had not detected. An Empire squad chased muzzle flashes into a building. The moment they entered, the structure exploded. The humans had rigged it with explosives and waited for the aliens to take the bait. "This is not how warfare works," Jackson shouted in frustration. "They are not following any tactical doctrine." That was exactly the point. Humans did not fight by the rules the Empire knew. They fought to win. Major Collins moved to her third position in 10 minutes. She fired 3 shots, dropped 2 enemy soldiers, and disappeared before they could locate her. Her team did the same. Hit and fade. Strike and vanish. The Empire soldiers had better weapons, better armor, better technology. But the humans had better tactics, better knowledge of the terrain, and absolutely zero hesitation to use brutal methods. Booby traps killed dozens of soldiers. Snipers picked off officers from impossible distances. When Empire troops bunched together for safety, mortars rained down on them. When they spread out to avoid the mortars, small human teams ambushed isolated groups. Commander Jackson watched his forces being destroyed by an enemy he could not see or predict. "Call for air support," he ordered desperately. Empire aircraft screamed overhead, firing at anything that looked suspicious. They destroyed buildings. They cratered roads. But the humans were already gone, hidden in their underground tunnel network. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it finally ended, the surviving Empire soldiers retreated to their landing ships in complete disorder. They left behind their dead and wounded. They just wanted to escape. Of the 10,000 soldiers who had landed that morning, only 3,000 made it back to the ships. 7,000 had been killed or captured in a single engagement against what the Empire considered a primitive enemy. Aboard the Dominion, Admiral Vaughn watched the reports with growing horror. Similar disasters were unfolding at other landing sites: Tokyo, New York, Moscow, Shanghai. Everywhere his forces landed, they met coordinated resistance that defied all standard military doctrine. "How is this possible?" Vaughn whispered, staring at casualty reports. "They are primitives. They have inferior weapons. How are they defeating us?" Captain Relth pulled up historical data. "Admiral, I've been reviewing human records. They have been fighting wars continuously for their entire recorded history. Over 10,000 years. They have fought in every environment. They have developed tactics for every situation." Vaughn looked at the images of human soldiers. They did not look particularly impressive. Average height. No natural weapons. Fragile bodies, but their eyes were cold, focused, efficient. "Call Fleet Command," Vaughn said quietly. "Request reinforcements, and send a message to Commander Zixtar." "What should the message say, sir?" Vaughn stared at Earth, the blue planet that had suddenly become a nightmare. "Tell him he was right." On Earth, in an underground command center beneath Canberra, Major Collins briefed her superiors. "The aliens landed expecting easy victory," she reported. "They learned otherwise. Their technologies advanced, but they fight by predictable patterns. They group together. They follow standard protocols. They expect their enemies to do the same." "And we don't," said the general. "No, sir. Collins smiled grimly. We fight like humans, and they have no defense against that. Above them, the Empire fleet regrouped in orbit. Below them, 8 billion humans prepared for the next round. This was just the beginning. Admiral Vaughn did not know it yet, but he had already lost. The moment he ignored Zixtar's warning, the moment he landed troops on Earth, he had sealed the Empire's fate. Because now the humans knew the Empire was a threat, and humans only knew one way to deal with threats: complete elimination. The war had begun, and the galaxy was about to learn why old soldiers feared Earth. The emergency council session convened within hours of the landing disasters. Admiral Vaughn stood before the holographic display, his confidence replaced by visible fear. Around him, council members watched footage of Empire soldiers being torn apart by primitive weapons. 15 landing sites, Vaughn reported, his voice hollow. 15 simultaneous engagements, total casualties, 63,000 soldiers. Success rate 0. The council chamber erupted in angry voices. This was impossible. The Empire did not lose ground battles to primitives. Councillor Thexra slammed his tentacle on the desk. How can species with inferior technology defeat our soldiers? Explain this failure. They do not fight according to standard combat doctrine, Vaughn said quietly. They use tactics we have never encountered. Ambushes, traps, underground networks. They strike from nowhere and vanish like ghosts, then adapt. Another councillor shouted. You have 5,000 ships in orbit. Use them! Admiral Vaughn pulled up new images. These showed human cities from orbit. We scanned major population centers after the ground failures. Watch. The footage showed New York City. Millions of people, busy streets, active infrastructure. Then the image jumped forward 12 hours. The city was empty, completely abandoned. They evacuated, Vaughn explained. In the time it took us to regroup after ground battles, humans emptied their major cities. They moved underground, into bunkers we cannot detect because they are too simple. Just reinforced concrete and metal. Our scanners look for advanced technology. These shelters have none. Captain Relth added more data. We estimate 70% of Earth's population is now underground. They have been preparing these shelters for decades. They knew someone would come eventually. Commander Zixtar entered the chamber. He had not been invited, but no one stopped him. The old warrior looked at the casualty reports without surprise. You did not listen, he said simply. Commander, your warnings are noted. Thexra began irritably. But we still have overwhelming force. We can bombard the planet from orbit, turn their cities to ash, force them to surrender. Zixtar shook his head slowly. If you do that, you will only make them angrier, and you will lose your ships. Lose our ships? Vaughn laughed bitterly. Commander, the humans have no space fleet. Their ships are primitive rockets. They cannot threaten us in orbit. Then you have learned nothing, Zixtar said. Let me tell you what humans do when facing superior force. They study, they adapt, they steal, and they strike when you think you are safe. He pointed at the display. You have been in Earth orbit for 4 days. You think you are observing them? Wrong. They are observing you. Every scan you run teaches them about your technology. Every communication you broadcast lets them learn your language. Every sensor pulse shows them your weaknesses. Admiral Vaughn wanted to dismiss this as paranoia, but something in Zixtar's tone made him pause. Call for reinforcements, Zixtar suggested. Bring your fleet to 15,000 ships. Make them think you are preparing for overwhelming assault. And watch what happens, the council agreed. They sent messages across the Empire. More ships, more soldiers, more weapons. Earth would be crushed under absolute force. Over the next 2 weeks, 10,000 additional warships arrived at Earth. The fleet now numbered 15,000 vessels. The largest military force ever assembled by the Empire in one location. Admiral Vaughn felt his confidence returning. No planet can withstand this firepower. Prepare for orbital bombardment. We will start with unpopulated areas. Demonstrate our power. Force them to surrender. He selected targets carefully. Empty deserts, abandoned cities, places where civilian casualties would be minimal. The Empire wanted workers, not corpses. All ships prepare to fire on designated coordinates, Vaughn ordered. That was when everything went wrong. Across the fleet, ship systems began failing. Not all at once. That would have been too obvious. Instead, one system here, another there. Navigation flickered. Weapons targeting drifted off mark. Communications developed strange static. What is happening? Vaughn demanded. His technical officer frantically checked diagnostics. Sir, we have multiple system errors. They appear to be software malfunctions. But our system should be immune to... The officer's screen went black. Then it displayed a message in English. Hello, Admiral. We've been inside your systems for 13 days. Humans say hello. Every screen on the bridge showed the same message. Then the screens went dark completely. Throughout the fleet, chaos erupted. Ships lost power. Weapon systems locked down. Some vessels found their engines firing randomly, pushing them out of formation. Others lost life support for terrifying minutes before backups activated. Admiral Vaughn stared in horror. How? How did they infiltrate our systems? Zixtar's voice came over the emergency communication channel. He was on his own ship watching the disaster unfold. I told you. Human study. You scanned their satellites. Did you think to check if those satellites were scanning you back? You intercepted their communications. Did you consider they were letting you intercept them? Every signal you received taught them your encryption. Every scan taught them your technology. On Earth, deep in a facility beneath Colorado, human programmers and engineers worked at incredible speed. They had captured Empire technology from downed landing craft. They had analyzed every signal the fleet transmitted, and they had found the weakness. The Empire's computer systems were incredibly advanced, but they were also networked. Everything connected to everything else for efficiency. One vulnerability could spread everywhere. Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation to the earlier Captain Chen, led the cyber warfare team. The alien systems are more advanced than ours, she explained to her team. But they are designed to be perfect. They never considered someone might use their own perfection against them. The virus humans created was elegant in its simplicity. It did not try to destroy Empire systems. It just made them unreliable. A navigation system might be 99% accurate instead of perfect. Weapons targeting might drift by 1 degree. Life support might flicker for just a moment. But in space combat, 1 degree meant missing your target. 99% navigation meant collision risk. Life support failures meant panic. The Empire fleet began breaking apart. Not from weapons fire, from chaos. And that was when Earth's hidden fleet emerged. From the dark side of the moon, from asteroid fields, from positions throughout the solar system, human warships appeared. Not 5,000 ships, just 500. But 500 ships that humans had been building in secret for 50 years. Admiral Vaughn watched in disbelief as the human vessels approached. They were crude by Empire standards. Welded metal hulls, chemical rockets for propulsion, primitive weapons, but they were functional, and humans knew how to use them. All ships engaged the human vessels, Vaughn ordered. Destroy them! But half his fleet could not respond. Systems were still recovering from the virus. The other half tried to target the human ships and found their weapons drifting off target. The human fleet did not fight like the Empire expected. They did not form battle lines. They did not exchange fire at safe distances. They used ramming tactics. Human ships accelerated at full speed toward Empire vessels. At the last moment, crews evacuated in small pods. The unmanned ships crashed into Empire hulls, their nuclear reactors detonating on impact. They are using suicide tactics, Captain Relth shouted in horror. They are sacrificing their own ships. No, Zixtar corrected over the comm. They are trading ships they consider expendable for yours they consider threats. That is not sacrifice. That is cost-benefit analysis. The human fleet also used weapons the Empire had never considered. They fired containers filled with ball bearings and metal debris. In space, these simple projectiles traveled at orbital velocities. Empire shields could not stop them all. Thousands of tiny impacts shredded hull plating and destroyed sensor arrays. One human ship approached an Empire cruiser and released its entire cargo bay, millions of gallons of water. In the vacuum of space, the water instantly froze into a massive cloud of ice crystals. The Empire ship flew directly into it. Ice tore through engines. Frozen chunks cracked viewports. The ship went dead in space. They're using water as a weapon. An officer screamed in disbelief. Admiral Vaughn tried to organize a coordinated response. But with systems failing and human ships attacking from every angle using unpredictable methods, coordination was impossible. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Empire had lost 3,000 ships. The human fleet had lost 470 vessels. But every human ship that died took at least 6 Empire ships with it. Vaughn sat in his command chair, surrounded by damage reports and casualty lists. His magnificent fleet was in shambles. Ships limped back to formation. Others drifted powerless, waiting for rescue. The humans had stopped attacking, but only because they had spent most of their ammunition. "Sir, incoming transmission," his communications officer reported. From Earth, a human face appeared on screen. Middle-aged male, military uniform, cold eyes. He spoke in perfect galactic common language. "Admiral Vaughn, I am General Marcus Webb, commanding Earth Defense Forces. You have invaded our system. You have killed our people. You have threatened our world. This is your final warning. Leave immediately, or we will destroy every ship in your fleet." Vaughn laughed bitterly. "You have 500 ships left. Most are damaged. I still have 12,000 operational vessels. You cannot watch," Webb interrupted. On every Empire ship, the virus activated again. This time it did not just cause malfunctions. It displayed data. Detailed information about every ship in the fleet. Hull specifications, weapon capabilities, shield frequencies, life support systems, and most terrifying, the current location of Admiral Vaughn's flagship. "We know everything about your ships," Webb said calmly. "We know your technology better than you do because we have been inside your system since you arrived. We know which ships have families aboard, which ones carry your leaders, which ones are critical to your fleet operations." He leaned closer to the camera. "We can target those ships specifically, right now. While your systems are compromised, you have 2 choices, Admiral. Leave our system alive, or stay and die." Vaughn looked at his tactical display. Human ships were repositioning, targeting the exact vessels Webb had mentioned: flagships, command carriers, hospital ships. The humans were willing to target non-combatants. They played by no rules. "You are monsters," Vaughn whispered. "No," Webb replied. "We are survivors, and you taught us that the universe does not reward mercy. Now leave, while you still can." The transmission ended. Admiral Vaughn sat in silence. Around him, his officers waited for orders. Finally, Vaughn spoke. "Send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we are retreating from Earth. Tell them Zixtar was right. Tell them we cannot win this war." As the Empire fleet began its humiliating withdrawal from Earth orbit, one final message transmitted from the planet. Not threatening, not boastful, just a simple statement in dozens of languages. "We know where your homeworld is now. We know where you come from. If you ever return to Earth, we will come to your homes, and we will show you what war really means." Admiral Vaughn watched Earth shrink on his view screen as the fleet retreated. That beautiful blue planet had broken the Empire's military in just 3 weeks. Commander Zixtar sat alone on his ship, looking at the same view. He had tried to warn them. They did not listen. Now they understood what he had learned 50 years ago. Humans were not the strongest species, not the smartest, not the most advanced, but they were the most dangerous, because they understood one simple truth that the Empire had forgotten. In the universe, survival does not go to the strongest. It goes to the most adaptable, the most ruthless, the most willing to do whatever is necessary, and humanity had spent 10,000 years perfecting survival. The trap had worked perfectly. Earth had let the Empire think it was winning, then destroyed that illusion in a single devastating blow. The fleet limped toward home, broken and humiliated, but Earth's message still echoed in every commander's mind. "We know where you live." The lesson. The remains of the Empire fleet arrived at Thraxis 3 weeks later. Of the 15,000 ships that had gone to Earth, only 9,000 returned. Many were damaged beyond repair. The casualty count exceeded 200,000 soldiers and crew. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. This time there was no laughter, no confident speeches, only fear. Admiral Vaughn stood before them, a broken man. His uniform was stained. His eyes were hollow. He had aged 20 years in 3 weeks. "Report," demanded Councillor Thexra, though his voice lacked its usual authority. "Earth's defenses were more extensive than we anticipated," Vaughn began mechanically. "Their technology, while primitive in appearance, was used in ways we never predicted. Their tactics violated every standard military doctrine. Their willingness to sacrifice was absolute. He paused, searching for words. They are not like us. They do not value individual lives the way we do. Every human is willing to die if it protects their species. Every single one. Surely that is an exaggeration, another councillor protested weakly. Vaughn pulled up recordings from the battle. Council members watched human pilots deliberately crashing their ships into Empire vessels. They watched ground soldiers charging certain death to buy their comrades time. They watched civilians, children, helping to build defenses and carry ammunition. They have been preparing for war their entire existence, Vaughn continued. Every human knows how to fight. Every human has studied military history. War is not something they do occasionally. It is woven into their culture, their education, their identity. Commander Zixtar entered the chamber. This time no one objected. The old warrior walked to the center and faced the council. I told you not to go to Earth, he said quietly. You did not listen. Now you must hear the full truth. He activated a holographic display showing Earth's history, battles, wars, conflicts. Spanning thousands of years, humans have been fighting since they learned to walk upright, Zixtar explained. They have fought with sticks and stones, with swords and spears, with guns and bombs, with nuclear weapons that could destroy their own planet. And now, with stolen technology from us. The display showed human military achievements. The Romans, the Mongols, World War II, Vietnam, Afghanistan. Conflicts the Council had never heard of, each one teaching humans new lessons about warfare. They study war the way we study art, Zixtar continued. They read books about ancient battles. They learn from every defeat. They improve with every conflict. For 10,000 years, they have been perfecting one skill: survival through violence. Then we must destroy them, Thexera said desperately. Before they become more dangerous, gather every ship in the Empire. 50,000 vessels, 100,000. Blast their planet from orbit before they can spread. It is too late for that, said a new voice. Everyone turned. A communications officer stood at the entrance, his face pale with terror. What do you mean? Vaughn demanded. Sir, we just detected faster-than-light signatures leaving Earth's solar system. Multiple ships. They are heading toward Empire territory. The council chamber fell silent. How many ships? Asked Zixtar, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. 50 vessels, Commander. Small fast attack craft. They are taking different routes through space. We cannot track them all. Vaughn felt ice in his veins. They are sending raiders. They are bringing the war to us. Worse, Zixtar said grimly. They are scouting, learning our territory, finding our weaknesses. Humans do not just fight wars. They study their enemies completely before destroying them. Over the next month, the Empire descended into chaos. Human ships appeared at outposts across Empire territory. They did not engage in major battles. They raided supply convoys. They destroyed communication relays. They struck at shipyards and disappeared before reinforcements arrived. But most terrifying was what they took. Technical data, star charts, population records, everything they needed to understand the Empire completely. The Council called Zixtar to a private meeting. Only the senior members attended. Vaughn was there, looking haunted. Commander, you understand humans better than anyone, Thexera said, his arrogance finally gone. How do we defeat them? Zixtar looked at each council member in turn. You cannot. That is unacceptable. Another councillor shouted. We are the Galactic Empire. We have ruled for 10,000 years. We have technology they cannot match. Technology means nothing, Zixtar replied patiently. Humans defeated us with water and metal debris. They used our own perfection against us. They think differently than we do. He pulled up tactical analyses. We fight to conquer. Humans fight to eliminate threats. We value honor and rules. Humans value only survival. We fear death. Humans fear failure. Those are very different motivations. Admiral Vaughn spoke up, his voice quiet. What do they want? If we cannot defeat them, what will make them stop? They want guarantees that you will never threaten Earth again, Zixtar said. They want the Empire to leave their sector of space permanently. They want to ensure no one ever tries to enslave them again. We can give them those guarantees, Thexera said quickly. We can sign treaties, make promises. Zixtar shook his head sadly. Humans do not trust promises. They trust only power. They will continue attacking until the Empire is no longer capable of threatening them. That would require destroying the Empire completely. Vaughn said in horror. Yes, Zixtar agreed. The room fell silent as the Council absorbed this. They had started a war they could not win, against an enemy they did not understand, and now that enemy was coming for their homeworld. 3 months after the retreat from Earth, human ships reached Thraxis. Not 50 ships, 500. They had been building more vessels using stolen Empire technology combined with human engineering. The Empire assembled 50,000 ships to defend their homeworld. Every available vessel, every soldier, every weapon. This was their final stand. Admiral Vaughn, given one last chance at redemption, commanded the defense. But his heart was not in it. He had seen what humans could do. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Thraxis system. 500 ships against 50,000. Impossible odds. The human commander opened a channel, the same face from before. General Marcus Webb. People of the Galactic Empire, Webb said, broadcasting on all frequencies. 3 months ago you invaded Earth, you killed our people. You threatened our world. You thought we were weak, primitive, easy to conquer. His expression hardened. You were wrong. The human fleet began advancing. Admiral Vaughn gave the order to engage. 50,000 Empire ships moved to intercept. But humans had learned from the previous battle. They had studied Empire tactics completely, and they had prepared something special. The human ships did not just carry weapons, they carried broadcasting equipment. As the Empire fleet approached, every human ship began transmitting, not threats, not demands, something far more effective. They broadcast recordings from the Earth battles, Empire soldiers screaming as they died, officers begging for mercy, ships exploding. The truth of what happened when the Empire fought humans, and then they broadcast something worse. They showed detailed tactical analyses of Empire weaknesses, shield frequencies, weapon vulnerabilities, command structure failures, everything humans had learned about how to destroy Empire ships. They broadcast this information on open channels, where everyone could see it. Empire soldiers watched the recordings. They saw their comrades dying. They saw the fear in their officers' eyes. They saw that the Empire could lose, morale shattered before the battle even began. Psychological warfare. Zixtar muttered from his ship, watching the Empire fleet begin to waver. They are breaking us mentally before engaging physically. Admiral Vaughn tried to rally his forces. All ships ignore the broadcasts. Maintain formation. Prepare to... That was when the second part of the human plan activated. The virus they had planted in Empire systems during the first battle had not been completely removed. It had just been dormant, waiting. Now it activated across the entire fleet. Not to disable ships. To create doubt, random system failures occurred. Nothing catastrophic, just small malfunctions. A weapon that did not fire. A shield that flickered. An engine that stuttered. Each failure was minor, but multiplied across 50,000 ships, it created chaos. Crews no longer trusted their equipment. Officers hesitated to give orders. The perfect Empire coordination fell apart, and that was when the human fleet struck. They did not attack the entire fleet. That would be suicide. Instead, they targeted specific ships. Command vessels, flagships, ships carrying high-ranking officers. The humans had studied Empire command structure. They knew that without clear leadership, Empire forces could not function. So they cut off the head. Using precision strikes, often suicide-ramming attacks, human ships destroyed key vessels. Admiral Vaughn's flagship exploded in the first 10 minutes. Vaughn survived in an escape pod, but his command was gone. Other flagships fell. The Empire fleet, suddenly leaderless, did not know what to do. They had always followed orders. Now there was no one to give orders. Individual ships fought bravely. Some even destroyed human vessels. But there was no coordination. No strategy. Just chaos. Commander Zixtar watched from his position in the second wave of defense. He had not been in the front lines. Perhaps the Council hoped his experience might save them, but he knew better. All ships in my sector, he transmitted. Cease fire. Power down weapons. Prepare to surrender. Commander, we cannot surrender. His second officer protested. We already lost, Zixtar said tiredly. The battle, the war, everything. Better to live as subjects than die as fools. His sector of the fleet, about 5,000 ships, powered down weapons. The human fleet did not fire on them. They had achieved their objective, breaking the Empire's will to fight. The battle lasted 12 hours. The Empire lost 23,000 ships. Human casualties were 97 vessels. But more important than ship counts was the psychological victory. The Empire was broken. General Webb broadcast from his flagship as Empire survivors fled or surrendered. People of the Galactic Empire, this war is over. Your leadership brought this upon you when they invaded Earth. Now you will accept our terms. The terms were harsh. The Empire would dismantle its offensive military. Human observers would be stationed on every major world. Empire species would have limited self-governance, but under human supervision. Technology sharing would be mandatory. Any species attempting to rebuild military forces would be eliminated. It was not occupation. It was more thorough than that. It was complete dominance. 10 years passed. Commander Zixtar, now retired and very old, taught at the Imperial Military Academy. The academy still existed, but it was very different. Human advisors supervised the curriculum. They ensured future Empire officers learned the lessons of the war. Zixtar stood before a class of young cadets from various species. They looked at him with respect and curiosity. The legendary commander who had survived Earth twice. Today we discussed the war with Earth, Zixtar began. Who can tell me why the Empire lost? A young Thalari cadet raised his hand. Because humans had better tactics. No, Zixtar said. Next, a Vrex cadet tried. Because their technology was more adaptable. No. A human cadet. There were humans studying at the academy now, learning alongside Empire species, spoke up. Because the Empire did not understand what they were fighting for. Zixtar nodded slowly. Explain. The Empire fought to conquer, the human said. Earth fought to survive. Those are very different motivations. The Empire could afford to lose battles. Earth could not afford to lose the war. So humans were willing to do anything, sacrifice anything to win. Correct, Zixtar said. He pulled up an image of Earth. That beautiful blue planet. The Empire's mistake was not military. It was philosophical. We believed that advanced technology meant superiority. We believed that following rules made us civilized. We believed that other species would think like us. He looked at each cadet carefully. Humans taught us that civilization is not about technology or rules. It is about adaptability, about survival, about the willingness to do whatever is necessary to protect your species, a cadet asked quietly. Sir, are humans evil for what they did? Zixtar considered this. No, they are practical. We invaded their home. We killed their people. We threatened their existence. They responded by eliminating the threat. That is not evil. That is nature. He walked to the window overlooking the academy grounds. Below, human and Empire students trained together, learning from each other. The Empire ruled for 10,000 years because we were strong, Zixtar continued. We fell because we forgot that strength is not just about weapons and ships. It is about understanding your enemy, about adaptability, about respect. He turned back to the class. Humans are now the dominant power in this sector of space, not because they have the best technology, not because they have the largest fleet, but because they understand one truth that we forgot. What truth, sir? Asked a cadet. Zixtar smiled sadly. That in nature it is not the strongest species that survives. Not the smartest, not the most advanced. It is the most adaptable to change. Humans spent 10,000 years adapting to survive. We spent 10,000 years assuming we would always be on top. He pointed to the image of Earth. That planet has been home to 5 mass extinction events. Species that seemed unstoppable were wiped out completely. But life adapted, survived, evolved. Humans are the product of billions of years of survival. They carry that instinct in every cell. The class sat in silence, absorbing the lesson. Remember this, Zixtar said finally. There are strong species in this galaxy. Smart species, advanced species. And then there are humans. Never confuse them with the others. Because humans are something different. Something more dangerous. What are they, sir? A young cadet asked. Zixtar looked out at the students, Empire and human together, and gave his final lesson. Humans are survivors. And there is nothing more dangerous in the universe than a species that refuses to die. The class ended. Students filed out, chattering about the lesson. The human cadet approached Zixtar's desk. Sir, may I ask a question? Of course. Do you hate us? For what we did to the Empire? Zixtar looked at the young human, barely 20 years old. born after the war. Innocent of the violence, no, Zixtar said honestly. I do not hate humans. I respect you. I warned the council about Earth. They did not listen. They paid the price for that arrogance. That is not your fault. The human nodded slowly. My grandfather fought in the war. He said you were the only Empire officer who understood us. I understood you because I fought you, Zixtar replied. And I learned. That is the difference between wisdom and arrogance. The human saluted and left. Zixtar remained in the empty classroom, looking at images of the war. So many dead, so many mistakes. On his desk was a small flag. Earth's flag, blue and green like the planet itself. A gift from human military advisors, a reminder. Below the flag was a plaque with words in both English and Galactic common. Never wake sleeping predators.